What's going on, everybody? It's Kanye, and today we're going to be looking at all the community builds and giving them a ranking. Again, before I get into this, I want to tell y'all that this is just an opinion of mine from a 2K player standpoint, someone that plays the game a lot. I'm just going to give y'all my opinions on them. I'll get them a rating from like 1 to 10 or out of 10 in terms of how good I think the build is, and then I'm going to tell you whether it's a viable build or like not a viable build based on how you want to use it. And then, hopefully at the end, I'll show you my rankings of all the community builds in order. So that way you can kind of, decide and base off that. And again, before we get into this is just my opinion. If you disagree, that's okay. Put any opinions you have in the comments and we'll see if we agree or disagree. And again, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe. I'm really enjoying making these videos for y'all, and I hope you're enjoying them too. So let's get started. Community builds. So let's start with the point guards. First up, we've got Grinding's point guard build. Now, this is the guy I've referenced before in a video, so if you haven't seen my comp center build video, I do reference him in that one. And looking at this build, it's very solid. I know Grinding's a park player, so there's definitely a lot of influence with that. The 91 steal is really nice. The 88 perimeter, it's a good defensive build. It's 6'6" with a 7-foot wingspan. The 86 3 ball is elite. You have enough finishing there. And since it is, a park build, you don't need that super high pass accuracy, but you've got the ball handling and everything. Basing the fact that Grinding is a park player, I still think you could take this build into 5s. And so I'm going to give this build like a solid 8 out of 10, just because there's probably a few things here and there I would tweak to make it a little bit more well-rounded in terms of taking it taking it anywhere to play. But I'm going to give it an 8. And then I would definitely say this is a viable build to play, with 2K. Real cool name too, with the two-way three-point shot creator. Next, we've got Solo. Very similar build to Grinding's. The only thing I would say is that it's slightly worse. And that's no disrespect to Solo. You went 6'4", so it's a little bit shorter than Grinding's. The one thing I do like is that he gave himself a little interior defense to get those bumps. The physicals are basically the same. He does have lower perimeter and lower steal, but you can still lock up with a 75 and an 85 steal. Ball handle, speed with ball are identical. Basically, the pass act goes down, but in park, you don't really need that. He does have the higher 3 ball. He does have the higher mid-range, and then the finishing is virtually the same. I see upgraded standing dunk. And so this build, I say, is viable. There definitely are some tweaks I would make to this. This build, I think, would be harder to take to the 5s. It's not as well-rounded. I don't think you could take this to the 5s and really, pass the ball effectively. So I think it's a little worse in terms of versatility. I'm going to give this one a 7 for now because it is very similar to Grinding's, but it is slightly worse in the overall versatility of it, but still a really good build. Next, we got Double H. I like this build a lot. Double H is a really well-rounded player too. He plays both in park and in rec and pro-am. So this build, you get the 94 dunk, which is great. The shooting is basically the 84-78 is like standard in my opinion. I think everybody should be running those shooting ratings if you're not running like a pure point guard that's going to be shooting the ball a lot. Those are just really consistent ratings. You can get good jump shots with those ratings, and I highly recommend the 84 mid-range, 78 3 ball for just about any build that isn't your point guard build that you're going to go crazy on. And that being said, the way Double H plays, he can shoot on that all day long and use that as a point guard build. So I like that a lot. The 74 layup, 94 driving dunk, already enough said. Pass accuracy at an 89. Great. Obviously that's good in any situation. You got the 85 ball handle, which in his case at a 6'8" point guard is more than enough. This is, in my opinion, more of a 2 guard in the grand scheme of things, but it definitely can run the 1. 85 perimeter, 85 steal, which is awesome. And then you've got your elite physicals down here with the 82 speed, 73 acceleration, 84 strength, 82 vert, 98 stamina. I mean, this build looks like it would be a lot of fun. Being able to be a 6'8" point guard, there's just something about that that's different. You don't see that much right now, and I love the uniqueness of this, but the overall versatility of it as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give this build a solid 9.5 because there are small tweaks that you could make to it, but there's virtually nothing that could be improved about it. There's other than the free throw coming up, and that's why I don't give it a perfect 10, because in 5s you would want a higher free throw, but if you're good, you can agree with a 59. So that's the one thing. I'll give it a 9.5, but this has definitely been my favorite build so far. So that's the point guard builds. Let's move on to two guard. First up, we've got shakedowns. This is a solid build. Definitely emphasis on the defense. The one problem I have with this build is that he missed the contact dunk cap by 1. 89 is way better than 88 in terms of significance. The shooting is good, 90 mid-range, 83 ball. The pass accuracy at a 75 is fine. Ball handle at 85 is good. Speed of ball 77. This is a two guard, so it doesn't need the overly high pass accuracy. I think this is really good playmaking for a two guard. Perimeter defense at an 80, steal at a 91. I think that's really solid defensive numbers. A block at a 70, interior to 61. It might not be the best in terms of badges, but the ratings there are good enough to where he can guard the interior. Speed, acceleration are great. Strength is low. Vertical is a 75. My big problem with this build is finishing. You know, you're missing out on contact dunks and certain attribute caps, which you're really close to. And then the shooting could be adjusted slightly. The difference between an 83 ball and a 78 isn't that significant, especially if you have a 90 mid-range. The badges are going to be pretty much the same. So overall, I'm gonna put this build pretty similar to where I put solos, and that there's just a few caps that are missed here and there. I'm going to put it slightly above solos but slightly below grindings. I'm going to put this at a 7.5. And I'm not keeping overall track of these ratings too well, and I know I'll forget them more as we get deeper, so I'm going to have a list at the end. Next we have Joe Knows. Obviously Joe Knows, a big creator in the community, and plays a lot of comp pro-am. He goes and gets in the park, though, and gets active in the park too. So definitely, no slouch in the park. And I'm liking this build a lot. 94 driving dunk, and he got the 82 vert, so he gets all those animations. He went with the 85 post control, which just adds an element to the game. Not necessarily something I think's necessary, but I will tell y'all these 6'9 builds are just absolutely broken compared to every other build in the game. I know recently I put out the 6'10s video, and they're really broken as well, but the 6'9s are just crazy. Shooting, he's got the 84-78, which I recommend for anybody. This is definitely a park version of his build, I think, and that's why he went with the 60 free throw. Pass act 77, ball handle 80, speed of ball 72. That's as good as it's going to get pretty much on a 6'9". And since he's the two guard, he doesn't need a higher pass act, so that's really good. The defense, good enough to guard ball, gets a lot of steals off ball, got the block, so he gets that anchor with the 78 block. And then the physicals, the only thing I'm seeing on the physicals is he missed Silver Bulldozer by 1 point, which is unfortunate, but I also understand with how high his attributes are elsewhere. The one thing I would say about this build, and again, this is personal opinion, I could do without the 85 post control. I would rather put that towards like layup, strength, up in your perimeter a little bit more maybe. So those sort of things. And I know post control is a little bit cheaper on guards, so that's probably why he was able to get it so high, and it probably wouldn't translate to get some of these other attributes at high. But I'd like to see you at least get one more on the strength and then up the driving layup. But I'm going to give this build a solid 8.5. I do think it's better than the other two guard build we've seen, and I think it's better than the other 2 point guard builds outside of double H's, so I'm going to give it an 8.5. Lastly, we're going to look at Spill Boys. This build's unique. It's only 6'5", but we have a 76 standing dunk, and I don't know much about this creator, so I don't know what they participate in typically. I see there's a description here, but I'm assuming that he is going to be playing in park mostly. I could be completely wrong with that, so don't hold that against me. But the 97 3 ball is elite. You don't see builds with that much shooting, and for a two guard, it makes sense. The 91 steal, great. Perimeter defense 72, fine. 86 ball handle, pretty good. Pass act is slightly lower than I'd want it to be. Speed, acceleration, good. For how this build is meant to be played on, it's really well made. It's not supposed to finish at the rim like crazy. It's just there if the rim's there. If you get there, you get there. But it's meant to shoot the ball really, really effectively, and I think it would do that. Obviously, can handle the ball and play good defense. I'm gonna give this build a 7.5 as well, because there are some caps I'm seeing that could have been hit that were missed. Just here and there, just slightly different things I would change to get a little bit better badge layout, but I'm going to give this a solid, I think I say 7.5. I think that's what I said, so I'm going to stick with that. Let's move on to the small forwards. Okay. Time 2K, we've got a three-point threat here. I'm loving the defense already on this build. It's very similar to Joe's, but it's got the rebound and a little bit extra defense, it looks like. Physicals are really good. The strength at an 82 is solid. Could have got that up to 84, but I don't mind the 82 with how everything else is laid out. 86 three ball is great. Don't have the midi, that's fine. 70 close shot, 70 driving layup, 80 dunk. I don't use close shot, so I don't really think I would have it upgraded that high. I think I'd go for that contact dunk. 89 contact dunk, but if he doesn't use the meter, you don't necessarily need the contact dunks. It's a really balanced build. I like it a lot. There's just, a couple things here and there I'd tweak. So I'm going to give this one, probably an 8. The things I would tweak, I'd up the pass sack a little bit. I'd up the mid range a little bit and sacrifice that close shot. But other than that, for a small forward, 6'8" small forward, this is a really solid build. Demands. We got this is a finishing heavy build. I like the 97 driving dunk, 78 layup. I don't know if his 97 is necessary. I think I would drop that down to the 94, as I mentioned before. But this isn't about what I would do. This is about what they would do. High flyer. I like the defense. Again, another 6'8", 7'1" wingspan. It can shoot, but 81 isn't overly great. If you got a good jumper for it, it's fine. The playmaking I see, we've missed some certain things cap wise that could have been better. But definitely would be a good park build in my opinion. Good park lock that can also score at a really high level. The physicals are outstanding. I think this is a good build. I think I'm going to go probably a 7.8 because I think it's better than those 7.5s, but I don't think it's at the level of an 8 of some of the other builds I picked out. Lastly, we got Brother Jones. Enough to be said, it's a lock, hybrid lockdown defender. The one thing that I would wish if you're going to make a lock is that it could rebound a little bit better. He does get the bronze rebound chaser with the 60 defensive rebound, so that's cool. 77 pass act was a great spot to hit. 7'6" wingspan is insane. I mean, this is just elite defensively. All the physicals are in good spots. The shooting got that 78 three ball, which is really significant. And then, driving layup and driving dunk. The one thing I can say is I know this build's not supposed to be focused on offensively, so I'm not going to rate it too harshly there. But I feel like, I won't say that because the 72 mid-range you can still hit with. Because I was going to say you could drop that down to whatever the min would be to still keep your 78 three ball and then up the finishing a little bit. But I think he's got it right. I like this build a lot for what it's supposed to do. It's a good lock build that can score. Obviously isn't meant to handle the ball, but that's okay. I'm going to give this build a solid 8.2. I think 8.2 is a good rating for this one. So that is all the small forwards. Move on to power forwards. Iggy Mo, guy that just got picked up in the 2K league. Absolute lockdown defender, 99 D board, 87 blocks, going to get him that silver anchor, 95 steal. This build's nuts. 86 pass accuracy, so he can throw those outlets. 3-point shots of 78, which is about what you need. And then he's got a little bit of finishing there. The 90 strength, 79 speed, so it's very, very quick. I love this build. For what it's worth, this is a 5s build for sure. And you could still definitely use it in the park. It would probably struggle scoring a little bit unless it just had catch and shoot 3s. But this is a really good build specifically for 5s. But then overall, still a good build. And just like you see, I see here at the end of his written thing, go make your teammates happy. And that's definitely what this build would do. This is a playmaking build. Defense and playmaking. You're not there to score, but you can hit shots if you have to. And so for what this build's made for, I'm going to give this build a solid 9. I think a solid 9. I'm going to go 9.2. I still like Double H's build a little bit better, but I'm going to give this a solid 9.2. I mean, you can't get much better than that in terms of power forward. Okay, Uncle Demi, guy well known in the build community. Definitely went offense heavy. Being that this is a power forward build, you don't necessarily need all the defense because the center's kind of there for that. He does have, obviously elite finishing. He hits all his caps. The guy knows the badges, so it's not like I have to even look at that. The finishing is absolutely stupid on this build. And then 85 post control, so you can go back to the basket. 76 3 ball to get that bronze agent 3, so you can't hit shots off the dribble. 76 3 ball is low, and it's hard to shoot with that, though. And I think this build would be probably better in the park. It is a 6'10", which I am a fan of. But I think it excels in the city, outmatching slower bigs and smaller guards. I agree with that. That's a very good point. definitely meant for park play. The defense isn't there and the pass accuracy isn't there, so the versatility is really low on this build. It's meant to be used in park, and it's meant to finish at the rim. It's not, going to be a lights out shooter, but it can dribble at 6'10", which is also impressive. So I'm going to give this build, from just a park perspective, it's probably a mid-8, but because of the lack of versatility of the build, I'm going to move it to like a 7.7. I think that's going to be reasonable for this thing. Moving on, we got Truly Huncho. This is going to be the last power forward build. He made a 6'10". This is definitely a park build as well. The one thing I like about this park build is that it has, good finishing still. I think it's going to be able to do, good finishing around the rim. It's not at the level that Demi's was, but it's going to be a better shooter. It can still dribble, and it has better defense. So I actually prefer this one to Uncle Demi's, because you just took a slight hit on the finishing, but you can still finish really well with what he has. You're a better shooter now, and you're a better defender. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one a flat 8. Now, let's move on to our centers. Got Lele. I like this center build. For the way it looks like it's laid out to me, I think it would be better if it had a better pass accuracy. I like the finishing. That's really good finishing for a 7-1. I just realized this is a 7-1. That's insanely good finishing off the dribble for a 7-1. You've got the 83-pointer on a 7-1, which is fantastic. I like this build a lot. You got your anchor, you got your, box out beast, and you get your gold rebound chaser. I'm pretty sure 93, does that get you Hall of Fame box out beast? Then the 90 strength, 80 vert on a 7-1. This is a great center build. Like I said, the only thing I'd really change about this is maybe go a little bit higher pass accuracy, but I wouldn't want to sacrifice much else. So I'm going to give this one a solid 8.5. I think this is a really good center build. Moving on to Jarrett's twin. If I mispronounce that, please let me know. I apologize. But looking at this one, it's very similar to Lele's build. It loses offensive rebound, but the pass accuracy is slightly higher, and he went more of a standing dunk route, higher strength, higher speed. And this one's 7 feet tall. I think, honestly, just looking at the similarities between the two builds, I really got to give him the same rating. He loses the offensive board, which I don't like, but I like having standing dunk higher than Lele has it at a big man, 7-foot big man. So, and the higher strength is also elite. So I'm going to go ahead and give these the same rating. And I think I gave Lele's an 8.5, so I'm going to give this one an 8.5 as well. And now lastly, Joey 2K. Last build we're going to be rating, and then we'll go over, I'll just put, a thing of the ratings up while I close out the video. But look at Joey 2K's. Good finishing, elite standing contact dunks, good post control, 82 mid-range. This is a post score build. This thing is dirty. And the benefit that this build has over the other two is the 86 pass act for the break starter. Elite defense, even perimeter defense. Still gets the gold rebound chaser, silver anchor, 84 strength. So the big difference is it's not having gold anchor, but it still has the 82 interior defense, silver anchor, which in my opinion is enough if you're 7'1". You got your gold rebound chaser, about in the same area of offensive rebound as the other builds, but it has way better perimeter. This thing gets bronze interceptor. It can handle the ball a little bit too, I'm just now realizing. I really like this build. I like this build a lot. This is definitely my favorite center build of the three. I'm going to give this build a 9. I mean, I don't really see too much improvement in this because he has perimeter defense. The only thing is that it's slow, but it's 7-1. It was going to be slow. This is a fantastic build. I think this is definitely, it says here 5v5. Obviously, your 7-footers aren't going to be good in park, so I'm not really basing any of them off that in terms of versatility. But even if this build can defend the perimeter, so it's the most versatile compared to the other two. So I'm going to give this build a solid 9.2. Now, I'm going to put it actually on the level of Double H. I'm going to give it a 9.5. I just love the perimeter defense aspect of this build. It's not great, but for a 7-1 to have that ability is pretty cool. And then he hit all the other caps. The mid-range not being at 84, three-pointer not at 78 is a little lower than I would want it, but you can still hit with that, obviously. This is a great offensive build in terms of post scoring, just contact dunking at the rim, shooting threes, pick and pop, pick and roll, can pass, can even dribble. Like, this is the most well-rounded build that I think we've seen in terms of being able to actually do everything, and it's 7'1". So I'm going to put this at a 9.5 with double H's. But yeah, with that being said, that's all the community builds. I'm gonna have up here on the screen, y'all can look at all the ratings and the comparisons. If y'all have your opinion, please don't hesitate to drop it. I would love to hear what you all think. But yeah, some of those builds are really good and honestly better than I expected. And that's no disrespect to any of the content creators. I just know sometimes when when 2K puts in builds or custom builds that they don't always have them optimized, but all those builds seemed pretty much optimized in my opinion, other than a couple that were probably the ones that were uploaded when the game came out. So now those same creators will probably go back and make some tweaks to them, and so that's just it. But yeah, I loved all those builds. All those builds are great. I don't think I gave anything below a 7. So that's a really good sign. So if you've been, kind of on the fence about using one of these community builds, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And you can also customize them a little bit to meet your own needs. But yeah, totally recommend checking out the community builds and trying them out. And let me know what y'all think. If you like any of the builds or tried them, please give me, some opinions or some just information on what you thought was good about certain ones, what you didn't think was good about certain ones. But yeah, I would love to just kind of talk about it. And I hope y'all enjoyed the video. And until next time, peace.